Hey, Leo here, and I want to appreciate you for joining me for this word moment. What do we mean by word? We mean giving you a perspective, truth, ideal, concept, construct that is designed to change your life, to impact your life, inspire your life professionally, personally, and holistically. And so I'm glad that you are joining me for this moment. And literally, it's going to be exciting. Now, you say, why you got to say literally? I have a problem with LY words. I'm working on getting rid of them, but I still use them. So you might as well get used to it while I'm working it out of my system. Anyhow, so what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about some lessons related to my experience with the Great American Speak Off. Now, when it comes down to it, let's get this in mind. First and foremost, it is so important to understand that speaking publicly, speaking holistically, but certainly speaking publicly is one of the most magnificent things you can do with your life. Simply because public speaking can literally increase the value of your wealth, your substance, your contribution in life in ways that nothing else can. I mean, Warren Buffett said, if you actually get the skill and the very ability of public speaking down, you can literally increase your value, your net worth in many instances by 50%. I mean, that's exciting, powerful statistics. But here's the thing. It's not so much just the speaking part that makes a difference. You see, when I heard the advertisement for the Great American Speak Off, as someone who is a communicator, someone who has provided leadership, someone who's trained, managed a number of different things, and someone who's very comfortable with talking, as you can tell, it's like, why not do something like that? One of the things I remember from the advertisement for the Great American Speak Off, Grant Cardone's words during the advertisement: we're looking for the next great American speaker. We're looking for the next Les Brown. And he shared another day, a number of other names, but the one that I remembered the most was Les Brown. I mean, you gotta be hungry. That's Les Brown. You see, it's possible. Les Brown, you see. And so these were things, words, if you will, perspectives, concepts, context of winning and encouragement that Les Brown fueled me with. So when I heard those words, we're looking for the next great Les Brown, I'm like, that kind of spoke to me. I mean, I'm a speaker too. I was like, man, I'm a speaker. I'm a good speaker. I'm speaking over here, speaking over there. And so, I have a chance to win this thing. Well, I went to this competition. I participated in the Dallas preliminary location and ended up being one of the top people at that location, got a golden ticket, therefore invited to be a semifinalist and participate in the semifinals that took place in Miami, Florida this past December. And oh my goodness, what an experience. I lost. Oh, am I a good speaker? Well, in the terms of my speaking, yeah, but not in terms of being able to win the competition. And I'm gonna give you some lessons in just a moment. But here's the thing. Grant Cardone came in to talk to the people who did not advance to the top 30 on the second day of the semifinals. And he said, listen carefully. He said, if you felt bad losing in this moment, he's like, you need to pay attention to that because you just found out something about yourself. And let me tell you, in life, losing for you, in life, you experiencing something in life where something is difficult and you didn't achieve where you thought you should have achieved and wanted to achieve and all of that. In those moments, you've found yourself. You need to pay attention because you didn't know it, that this is really who you are. And you say, what are you talking about, Leo? It's about these lessons that I learned that I want to give to you. Let me say it this way. I want to teach you the lessons that I learned that are so profound. Matter of fact, I would not have learned them if I didn't lose. And I want you to see in a very powerful way, the value that comes when you lose. You know, it makes me think about the words that Myron Golden talks about on a regular basis when he says, all work is working. Okay. Now, let me just be honest with you. If it don't work for you, meaning you start working, you start the project, you start the idea, you pursue your dream, and it seems like it's not working and producing what you intended. Hey, that don't mean it's not working, because working for you is different than something working on you. To prepare you for it to work for you. You see? Okay, let me get off of that. So this is why I'm saying losing, anytime you lose, especially when you're pursuing something that is a worthy ideal, something that is success oriented, understand that it is working for your benefit, whether it's working for you. Okay. And so on the one hand, in these lessons that I'm going to share with you that I learned, I want you to see that it's important that you learn from every situation and experience, but especially the ones where you lose and don't achieve what you thought you should achieve. Why? Because there are so many nuggets in them. But then I want you to learn lessons like this. So I want you to see from what I'm sharing with you, the power of learning from losing, learning from when things don't work for you, but they actually work on you. Okay. So as I was a part of this competition, I mean, I was connected with a lot of different speakers from around the country. I don't think I'd ever been in a room with people who were trying to do the same thing I was doing. And the interesting part is this was the first time I was in a room with people who were doing the same thing I was doing, but there was really no competition, even though we were competing. What do I mean? Everybody in that room had a different purpose, even though the way we were going about that purpose was through the means of communication. And so even though I didn't make it to the top 30 or the top 12, and in this case, the top 3 who are going to participate in the finals in February 2023, it was like, man, this is so great. And being in this environment, hearing the feedback, seeing what it is that other people were sharing, the experiences of connecting with my colleagues and competing against them while also trying to add value to them, going through our different rounds and the different competitive measures that were set for us, and then not being in the top 30 or the top 12, but then being a part of the top 12, competing for the top 3 spots and hearing the feedback from all those things position me, because of looking at my losing as a learning opportunity, looking at my losing as a leveraging moment. It gave me some lessons that I need to give to the world. And so for these next moments, I would say probably the next 10 to 15 minutes, probably less, but somewhere in that time frame, I want to teach you the 3 lessons which really culminate into a overarching lesson from losing the first Great American Speak Off competition. Number 1, I learned there is a difference in speaking to be heard and in speaking to provide benefit. Listen carefully. There is absolutely a difference in speaking to be heard and speaking to provide benefit. Now, what are you saying, Leo? Okay, listen carefully. The overarching scripture text of my mind comes from the Apostle Paul to the Philippian people, the church that was at Philippi. And in his letter to them, he says to them, do nothing for selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. And then he goes on and says, let each one of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. Oh, wow. Okay. If you listen to the overarching theme of that perspective, those 2 texts there, and go back to my first lesson, there's a difference between speaking to be heard and speaking to provide benefit, you see the distinctions. What do you mean the distinctions? And really, the perspectives that Paul really gave kind of speak to all of the lessons. Here's what you got to catch. You've got to catch that speaking to be heard is exclusively your interest. Speaking to provide benefit is the interest of others. So basically, the focus should actually be on others' interest rather than your own interest. But I'm going to come back to that. So speaking to be heard is more so the focus on you and what you have to say rather than on the person and what it is they receive. And there's such a fine line. But as a result of this competition and all the feedback that I got in observing and evaluating the people who actually made it to the final three, what I saw was that difference. I saw that the messages they delivered were more focused on the benefit that people would receive rather than the fact that they would be heard. Man, that was so powerful. And then there was the second lesson. There's a difference in speaking to communicate and speaking to connect. See, when you think about it, communicating is it's going out. Connecting is it made an impression in such a way that there was a link, right? There was a means of, hey, I'm with you. Not only I'm with you, I really know that what you're talking about is for my benefit. And, you know, when I would listen to the feedback of the judges for the finals, the finals competition for the final three spots, these people who were sitting on this panel were master speakers themselves. And I can't tell you how many times I heard them say from the people who actually be in the final three, and then a few other people who didn't actually make it to the final three. I can't tell you how many times I heard them say, I felt like you were talking to me. I felt you. I felt like you had brought me into your story. I felt like that was my story. And they all had a different connection with the story, but the connection had been made regardless in general. Why? Because the people who shared that really made an impression upon them ensured that what was said would connect and not just be communicated. Oh, but lesson number 3, there is a difference in speaking to impress and then speaking to impact. No, don't get me wrong. Impress can be good because it's actually like connection to a degree where you're impressing upon and it makes an imprint. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about impressed to where you are looked at as someone impressionable, someone of value, somebody that is worth being noted and looked at and seen and considered. Somebody who's making a name for themselves, somebody who's connecting in such a way that it's like, oh, you're looked at as special and there's recognition and there's honor and favor here. You're trying to make yourself exalted and you want to be exalted. To be honest, you want to be the person they remember. You want to be the person that they give great regard to. But first, you've got to impact, which is very similar to impression from the imprint standpoint. But impact means you need to connect with that person and, provide benefit to that person in such a way that now they say, not only I want to be better, but I see where there's an opportunity for growth. There's a thing that I can actually pursue more. Oh, there's a higher level. That connection has been made that they see, wow. Not only I can be better, but from their standpoint, the judges who were judging these folks for the final 3 spots, the judges were also considering these people. Can these people not only compete for these top 3 spots, but will they be people who we can really present to our audience at our conference where these finals are going to take place. And these people are people we can invest in, and these people are going to bring some substantial value to our community, to our customers, to our tribe. That was the question. So remember, here were the 3 lessons. There's a difference in speaking to be heard and speaking to provide benefit. There's also a difference in speaking to communicate and speaking to connect. There's also finally a difference in speaking to impress and speaking to impact. But here's what's interesting. Here's the overarching perspective. Only when we speak to provide benefit, and then we speak to connect, and then we speak to impact, is it certain that we can be heard, that we can communicate, and that we can impress. Oh, yes. When we impact people, we will have impressed them, right? See, I used to be that guy that would try to impress people without really impacting them. And in the same way, I used to be the guy to communicate without really considering to connect with them. But then I used to also be the guy who was concerned about being heard rather than providing benefit. And to be honest, that was one of the things that held me back in the sales environment. That was one of the things that has held me back in really opening up the doors of my business to people who really need to come into it, because my focus, and this is regardless of if you're speaking in public or if you're trying to impact people through your profession, trying to impact in your family, trying to impact in your ministry, your nonprofit, it doesn't really matter. When you operate from the standpoint of seeking to, listen carefully, seeking to be heard more than to provide benefit, seeking to actually communicate more than connect, seeking to what? Impress people rather than impact people, it is absolutely certain that people will very likely not want to have anything to do with you. However, when you, watch this, when you speak or influence or impact or do anything to provide benefit to someone, when you do anything to make sure that you connect and to make sure you impact, it is absolutely certain that you will be heard, that you will be able to communicate, and that you will impress. That's really how it works. Now you say, okay, Leo, what does this have to do with me? Why is this important? See, you got to understand that powerful clarity. If you take it and receive it, it will enable you to achieve results so unprecedented this year beyond what you can imagine. Let me say it differently. This is the theme for the year for me, and this is what I'm sharing with other people. Matter of fact, got some merchandise and whatnot to go with this. It's down in the link if you want to actually get you some. Everything that I share with you calls you to this perspective. Execute with clarity in 2023. See, when you execute, you can achieve things, but when you execute with clarity, when you execute with clarity, you can achieve magnificent things. And guess what? If you execute with clarity in 23, guess what you're going to achieve in 2023? Magnificence. You're going to produce magnificence for others. You're going to produce magnificence for families and relationships and productivity, profitability for businesses and for education. You're going to make a major difference. And so I want to invite you to execute with clarity in 2023. I want you to take these lessons and execute with clarity in 2023. I want you to understand that it's so much more important to be on the side of providing benefit, on the side of connecting, on the side of impacting, than focusing on the side of being heard, the side of communicating, and the side of impressing. Why? Because when you're on the side, man, this sounds so good. When you're on the side of providing benefit, connecting, and impacting. It assumes as well as opens the door for you to be heard, for you to communicate, and for you to impress. Now, let me leave you with this. I shared with you that perspective from Paul the Apostle, according to his writing with the Philippian church. And one of the things that he shared in regard to that, I'm going to say it again, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, count others more significant than yourselves. And then he says, let each of you look not only to your own interest, but also to the interests of others. Well, let me say this to you. That first category of being heard, communicating, and impressing is actually your own interest. The other side is actually, watch carefully, providing benefit, connecting, and impacting. And when you count others more significant than yourselves, and when you look not only to your own interest, but also to the interests of others, what it's saying is your interest is not eliminated. It's actually that your interest gets embedded into the interests of others. So remember, when you focus on providing, watch this, providing benefit in your speaking, influencing, whatever you're doing, when you focus on providing benefit, when you focus on connecting, when you focus on impacting, guess what allows or is allowed in the context of that? Being heard, communicating, and impressing. And it becomes a oneness of perspective. So should you accept my invitation to execute with clarity in 2023? Should you accept my invitation to take these perspectives? Should you accept my invitation to literally become a person who focuses on providing benefit to others, connecting with others, and impacting others? Yes, you should. Why? Because you should be heard, you should communicate, and you should impress, especially when you do those other things. Listen, I hope this was a good word for you. I want you to like, share, comment, subscribe, do everything. I like how Myron Golden says, do all the YouTube stuff, right? Go down in the description, get you some merch to actually do some good stuff with executing with clarity in 2023. And I guarantee you, if you get what I shared with you today, oh my goodness, magnificence is on the way for you. You hear me now? Take care.